Assalamu alaikum. Today we'll be discussing the anatomy of the middle ear. Okay, so the middle ear is divided into two compartments, the tympanic cavity and the epitympanic recess. Epitympanic recess, as the name indicates, recess space, it is a small space above the tympanic cavity, lies adjacent to the mastoid sinus and has a few extensions from the malleus and incus. The main discussion today will be about the tympanic cavity and its boundaries and the important structures in its boundaries. Okay, like I said, compartments of middle ear, tympanic cavity, epitympanic recess. Okay, this is a box diagram. We are going to use this box diagram to study the boundaries of the tympanic cavity. Now, as we can see, it has 6 boundaries. Firstly, we have the roof, which is also called the tegmental wall. It's called the tegmental wall because it is formed by a small portion of bone called the tegmen tympani. What is tegmen tympani? Tegmen tympani is an extension of the petrous part of the temporal bone. What is the clinical significance? Let's say if we get an infection of the middle ear, otitis media, so this bone is very thin and it is the only separation between this middle ear cavity and the middle cranial fossa above. That is, above this bone we have the dura. So if we have otitis media here, it can penetrate through this thin plate of bone and can irritate the meninges, causing meningitis. Okay, then we have the floor of the middle ear cavity, which is also called the jugular wall. It's called the jugular wall because this thin plate of bone separates the middle ear cavity from the superior bulb of the internal jugular vein. Also in the floor we have canaliculus. What is this? Canaliculus is just an opening. It's called the tympanic canaliculus because the tympanic branch of the glossopharyngeal nerve, cranial nerve 9, enters the middle ear cavity through the floor. Now, this tympanic branch of the glossopharyngeal nerve goes onto the promontory of the medial wall and forms part of a very special structure known as the tympanic plexus. Okay, now, the anterior wall, which is also called the carotid wall, because it separates the middle ear cavity from the carotid canal. Now, what is carotid canal? It is an opening, a small opening in the temporal bone through which the internal carotid artery enters the middle cranial fossa from the neck. Also in the anterior wall we have an orifice. An orifice is a small opening. Here it's called the tympanic orifice. From here the eustachian tube enters. Now what is the eustachian tube? It has many names. It is also called the auditory tube. It is also called the pharyngotympanic tube. Now in this diagram we can see here this is the eustachian tube. Here it's a bit more elaborated. The eustachian tube is the connection between the middle ear and the nasopharynx. What is the function? What is the purpose of this tube? Basically, this tube equalizes the pressure between the middle ear cavity and the external atmosphere. That is, it is being used to expel the extra air from the middle ear cavity through the nasopharynx and out of the mouth. Now here we have two diagrams. This is of an adult, this is of a child. As you can see in between these two, in a child, the tube is rather small and is more horizontal. This anatomical structure makes the children more susceptible to ear infections. Now, how does the eustachian tube functions? The main muscle here is the tensor veli palatini muscle. Normally the eustachian tube is closed at rest, but through this muscle it opens especially when we are yawning or when we are swallowing. Okay, back to the anterior wall, we have a canal here and this canal is for the tensor tympani muscle. Now, we are going to discuss tensor tympani muscles when we discuss the muscles of the middle ear. Now, the posterior wall, which is also called the mastoid wall. It is called the mastoid wall because around here it has an opening called edetus which opens into a cavity called the mastoid antrum. Now in some people the mastoid antrum has mastoid ear cells and in some people they aren't mastoid ears, they do not have mastoid ear cell. What is the function here? This cavity has a lot of air inside it. So if for some reason we need air inside the middle ear cavity, so we can force air from this cavity inside the middle ear. That is, it functions opposite to the eustachian tube. It can push air into the middle ear cavity. Also in the posterior wall, we have a structure called pyramid. Now what is pyramid? Pyramid is a conical projection in the posterior wall through which the tendon of stapedius muscle arises and inserts into the stapes. We will discuss the stapedius muscle with the muscles of the middle ear. Now, on to the lateral wall, also known as the membranous wall, that is this front part. It's called the membranous wall because it is mostly formed of the tympanic membrane. Now, the medial wall, this wall at the back, this is maybe the most important wall that we are going to discuss in the middle ear. It has a structure in the center called promontory. Now what is promontory? Promontory is a bony bulge. Why is it formed? Because behind this wall is the cochlea, which is rotating and it looks like a snail's shell. Due to the basal turns of the cochlea, round basal turns, we get this bony bulge called the promontory. Now above this promontory, around here, we have the oval window and we have another window here below the promontory, which is known as the round window. Now the oval window is connected to the scala vestibuli of the cochlea of the inner ear, and the round window is connected to the scala tympani of the cochlea of the inner ear. Both these windows, the oval window is present here and the round window here, are closed. The oval window is closed by the footplate of stapes, which is attached to the oval window by the annular ligaments. The round window is closed by the secondary tympanic membrane. Now, some other structures that will be present in the medial wall are above here, around here, we are going to have a canal for the facial nerve canal, and above it, around here, we're going to have a bulge for the horizontal semicircular canal. For now, just remember this. We're going to see a diagram ahead and it's going to become super clear. Okay, so here is the diagram. We've cut open the lateral wall. It was supposed to be here. We've cut it open and we can see all the boundaries. This was the roof, as we discussed, formed by the tegmen tympani, and as you can see, it's a very thin plate, and above it we have the brain, that is the middle cranial fossa and the dura. This is the floor. As you can see, there is a canaliculus from where the branch of glossopharyngeal is coming in and the internal jugular vein is being separated by it. Here is the anterior wall, the carotid wall. As you can see, separating the internal carotid artery from the middle ear, there is the orifice for the auditory tube and a canal from which the tensor tympani muscle enters. Then we have the posterior wall here. Here is the adytus, which is opening into the mastoid antrum. Here is the projection called pyramid from where the tendon of the stapedius muscle is being inserted. Here is the lateral wall, we've cut it open. See, it's formed by the tympanic membrane. Here is the medial wall. Look, there is the promontory. There is the tympanic plexus. This is the oval window. This is the round window. Now, the important structures I told you on the medial wall, the facial canal, and this the bulge of the lateral or the horizontal semicircular canals. Now, one important structure that I'm just going to go through it briefly. Just remember, this is the chorda tympani. The chorda tympani are a bundle of fibers. Which fibers it includes? It includes the parasympathetic and the sensory fibers of the facial nerve. Again, the parasympathetic and the sensory fibers of the facial nerve. When we are going to go through the facial nerve, we'll know where all the fibers are coming from. But for now, remember that through the facial canal, the facial nerve fibers are passing and they escape the facial canal through this special hole number 15 called the posterior canaliculus, and these parasympathetic and sensory fibers as a bundle run out of the facial canal known as the chorda tympani. Another thing is the Mac-Evans triangle. What is the Mac-Evans triangle? In the temporal bone, this is a landmark by which we can identify the location of the mastoid antrum. That is the McEwan's triangle. Now, we are going to discuss the auditory ossicles. These are the smallest bones in the human body. There are three auditory ossicles. We have the malleus, the incus and the stapes. This is the handle of malleus. During the external anatomy, I told you that when we are going to flash a light through the external auditory canal, we'll see the handle of malleus. This is the head of malleus articulating with the body of incus. This is the lenticular process of incus articulating with the head of stapes. And this is the footplate of stapes, which is attached into the oval window by the annular ligament. Now, I have a mnemonic here for you. You can remember it by some other way as well. I remember it by this mnemonic, MISS. MISS stands for M for malleus, I for incus, S for stapes. And the other S is for synovial joints, because these ossicles are articulated with each other via the synovial joints. Okay guys, last but not the least, we are going to discuss the muscles in the middle ear. There were two muscles in the middle ear. One was coming from the anterior wall, the tensor tympani. The other was coming from the posterior wall through the pyramid, the stapedius. First, we are going to discuss the tensor tympani. As you can see, it is attached somewhere around the neck of malleus. What is the function of this tensor tympani muscle? It receives its innervation from the trigeminal nerve. The function is that when this muscle contracts, it pulls the malleus medially and the tympanic membrane tenses up. This causes the sound to dampen, because the normal way by which we receive sound is that the tympanic membrane vibrates and it causes the ossicles to vibrate. Now, if the tympanic membrane is tightened, the ossicles will not vibrate and thus the sound is dampened. Now, where do we normally use this muscle? When we are eating, when we are chewing food, a certain amount of sound is produced, but we don't hear that sound at the same intensity as it's being produced. Why? Because the tensor tympani muscle is pulling the malleus and tightening the tympanic membrane. Thus, we are not hearing the sound at the same intensity while we are eating food. Now, the stapedius muscle is attached to the stapes. What is its function? Now, I told you that the stapes footplate is attached at the oval window, which opens up into the scala vestibuli of the inner ear. Now, normally how we perceive sound is that the sound enters the external auditory canal, it bangs on the tympanic membrane, the tympanic membrane passes the vibrations into the ossicles vibrate with each other, and then this stapes footplate starts banging on the oval window, and thus fluid-filled vibrations are produced in the cochlea. Now, if this muscle contracts, the footplate of stapes is not going to tap on the oval window as much, and thus this also produces dampening of sound. Now, a clinical correlate related with stapedius is its innervation. It is innervated by a branch from the facial nerve. Thus, when we have Bell's palsy or facial nerve palsy, this muscle loses its innervation, and thus if we lose this function, we get hyperacusis as we see in Bell's palsy, that is an increased sensitivity to certain amount of sound, because this muscle has lost its function and the footplate of stapes is continuously banging on the oval window. Okay guys, thank you for watching this lecture. Tell me what you think in your comments. Tell me if I made any mistakes, and thank you for watching.